Peterbot has officially switched his drop spot for grand finals, and he had to grief a team out of making grand finals to take it. It's been an insane group stage. I'm going to talk about exactly what happened there, why Pete is no longer going Demon's Domain, because we now have new leaks coming out that the PUI is getting completely destroyed. What does that mean for other teams dropping there, like Poyo, Queasy, Malabuka? How did the EU groups go? We had MrSavage just pulling off the qualification in the last game. Mongrel unfortunately missing out. I'll recap all of the group's action. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Peterbot has officially switched his drop spot from Demon's Domain to Brutal Boxcars. This isn't like yesterday's video where I talked about how he's going to go there if Demon's Domain is destroyed. Peterbot has now announced they are going Brutal Boxcars in Grand Finals. Probably thinking, Aussie, what changed? Well, two things. Firstly, we got more information today that basically confirms that Demon's Domain is getting destroyed. We have people on Twitter now comparing the images from the trailer to an image of the exact same spot at Demon's Domain right now, and as you can see, it's gone. Demon's Domain is literally gone. The portal that's going to summon the Kraken or whatever this alien thing is out of it is literally starting at the bottom of Demon's Domain. So even though we saw the lightning bolt hit the top of the building, and I thought maybe like, that'll lose a couple chests, maybe the building will be destroyed and changed. No, it looks like the entire Demon's Domain is disappearing whenever this event happens, which means the PUI is basically gone. It could get upgraded in some way. There is still a chance. It does talk about how Superman's going to come and rescue us. So maybe there's a new building there. Maybe this Kraken thing, when you take it down, gives you a whole loadout. Honestly, I don't know. But it is enough to say that Demon's Domain is going to be heavily changed, and most likely the main reason why Peterbot's been going Demons this whole time, which is the medallion and the assault rifle, is going to be gone. This combined with the fact that Peterbot basically just guaranteed that he gets unconned Brutal Boxcars because he just made Edgy not qualify. So if you watch the group stage, I'll talk about all of it in a second. Peterbot basically made it his tournament's mission to make sure Edgy doesn't qualify. And this was kind of crazy. It was honestly impressive to watch how good of an effort Edgy put up against this. Edgy, Chance, and Dukes actually held their own against Peterbot really well. I'd say they actually won 2 of the 5 times they fought them, or maybe 2 of the 4 times they fought them in the mid game. I talked to Peterbot at the end of the tournament, and he said, honestly, Edgy did play really, really well. Pete's ability to find where Edgy was and chase them around the map was also insane. There was a lot of accusations going around of Pete's team using the broadcast to stream snipe or using replays to stream snipe. I ended up actually going and checking the official rules, and in the official rules, if your coach is using replay mode, which is what people are accusing Raz of doing, this is actually not against the rules at all. Because of the 9-minute delay on the replay, Fortnite sees it as an okay use of in-game tools for a coach to use that to then give information to the player, which is how I'm guessing Peterbot knew which skin Edgy's team had on each game, so they knew who to fight. So Peterbot would know roughly where Edgy's starting the game at Brutal Boxcars. They would then know what skins to look for and use the medallion they had if they got it off the island, or just use their mobility to run around and find Edgy's team every game and try to take them out. Now, this is pretty crazy. Obviously, this sucks if you're Edgy, but like I explained yesterday with clicks, again, I don't see this as griefing. To say it for the 50th time, my definition of griefing, yours could be different, is if you're negatively impacting your own game to negatively impact someone else's. A team in last place saying, screw that team, I'm going to land on them, I'm ruining their tournament. That is griefing. But if you're going to negatively impact someone else's game, but it positively impacts your own, in this context with Peterbot getting uncontested Brutal Boxcars in Grand Finals, I don't think that is griefing. So as much as it sucks for Edgy, Dukes, and Chance, it does make sense for why Peterbot would go for this play, and it worked. So Edgy could still qualify to Grand Finals. Last chance qualifiers is, only a few days away. Yes, we have Muzz's team, but Edgy, Dukes, and Chance are a phenomenal team. They could definitely make it out of last chance. And if they make it out of last chance, they're gonna want to contest Peterbot. He's definitely made enemies out of this trio. So it was a gamble by Peterbot. I respect it. It ended up working. If they can get Brutal Boxcars uncontested in Grand Finals, that is going to be insane for this season. You might be thinking, why Brutal Boxcars? But honestly, Brutal Boxcars is one of the best PUIs on the map. It's the same reason why Venno went there at the start of the season. I originally thought it was more just locking it down for land, but as the season's developed, especially in the Surge trading meta, Brutal Boxcars is an insane PUI. You get the early mountain control where you get to get Surge positioning and trade with all the players around you. You have a mid-map position, which also helps for early zones, and then you get the almost guaranteed big spire that spawns at Brutal Boxcars. I know what you're thinking, Aussie, isn't Clicks trying to go for that? And yes, Clicks has been going for that every time it spawns against Edgy, and Clicks has been quick to point out that he will be going for it again against Peterbot as well. Now, I don't know whether this will actually play out this way, and I'm not saying Clicks is a liar, and I fully respect Clicks' confidence, and even if Clicks didn't plan on going for it in Grands, he has to still say he's going to. Like, imagine you ask Clicks, yo, are you gonna contest the Boxcar Spire? Oh no, Pete's way better. Pete's such a good player, I can't do that. Obviously, he's gonna say, no, I'm gonna contest that. I'm not scared of anyone. 12 out of 12, bring it, Pete. Like, you have to have the confidence. You have to at least appear like you're gonna make that play, even if you're not. Like, that's just normal. That's not even Fortnite 101. That's just sports 101. You can't admit that your opponent is just gonna wipe you every single time. And honestly, if Clicks and Pete fought, I don't think Pete would just wipe Clicks every time. But it's safe to say this, and I say this with all love for Edgy, taking down Pete, Cold, and Ritual is a lot more risky than trying to take down Edgy, Dukes, and Chance. And everyone involved knows that. So I don't know whether Clicks will make this play. Their loot at Supernova is really good regardless. They're getting all of Supernova. They're getting the shrines around it. They don't need the loot from the Spyro Boxcars, but getting a guaranteed exotic is really, really good. So this has definitely impacted Clicks' grand finals. Outside of the fact that Peterbot now might be uncontested, which gives Clicks a very, very big opponent that, as of a couple days ago, he didn't have. This also means what's happening to Poyo? Poyo, Acorn, Ages, are they going to go Demon's Domain? Are they going to switch drop spots? We don't know. I asked Ages this question, and Ages said he's waiting for the Eval Cup update. We have an update taking place tomorrow as of you guys watching this video, and they're waiting until then to announce where they're going to go. Now, I was talking to my stream about potential options. My first option that I thought was going to be Resistance Base. Muzz hasn't qualified to Grands yet. Skittles said they're going Resistance Base, but historically, Skittles will move a drop if Ages is going to go there. Skittles does not want to contest Ages, so I thought that'd be a great way for Ages to go Resistance Base, and then Skittles goes back to Foxy Floodgate, because Skittles said he's down to contest visuals all season at Foxy. He doesn't care. So I thought that was going to be the play, but then we had a new development as Reed switched drops. Reed, Cooper, and Curly, they've qualified for land. They've switched their spot from Flooded Frogs to then go Resistance Base. I don't really know why. I actually jumped in a call with Reed and Cooper to get their thoughts on this, and they said they just think Resistance Base is a better drop. It has guaranteed shrines, it has a slurp truck, it has way better loot, and they also mentioned the teams that are dropping around them are just worse than the teams they have to deal with at Flooded Frogs. The main team they have to deal with over there is Clicks, and obviously, there's been a lot of drama between Clicks, King, Flooded Frogs, and trying to fight Reed, and then Muzz is teaming, and there's been all those accusations we've covered. So when Reed took Muzz's drop spot, and then Muzz was quick to tweet out that they're going Flooded Frogs, a lot of people made teaming accusations. You guys agreed to this. You guys, talked about this beforehand. I talked to Cooper and Reed. They did not discuss anything with Muzz's team. If anything, they're hoping Muzz doesn't qualify now so they can hold down Resistance Base. Muzz's team has said they're going to go Flooded Frogs when they qual Grands. They didn't say if. They said when. I'm loving this confidence out of Muzz. We'll see how things change up, but that now means that Acorn, Ages, and Poyo can't go Resistance Base. Maybe they're going to go Flooded Frogs. If Muzz's team doesn't make Grands, we could see Ages' team going Flooded Frogs. It's a really good POI. It is worth mentioning, by the way, Skittles' team will not be leaving Resistance Base. Apparently, they want to fight Reed every single game. So the other best POIs on the map, Foxy Floodgate already has Visuals team there who's qualled land. Maybe Skittles goes there as well. Utopia City against Booga could be a decent bet for Poyo's team as well. I think Fields, the fields right next to Demon's Domain, could be a good choice because in the fields, it has all the same surge routes as Demon's Domain. Yes, the loot isn't as good, but it's still quite solid. Acorn's team loves King for the island at Foxy Floodgate. They could still do that from the fields, and overall, their game plan wouldn't change that much, but it isn't a phenomenal POI. Now, Crime City is also a very top tier POI. They could contest, but that means Acorn would be dropping on Kanata. I don't know whether they'd be willing to spawn fight Kanata. Kanata's team doesn't have a land spot guaranteed though, so they might have to leave Crime City and go somewhere else if Poyo's team wants to take it. I don't really know. There's not really many other POIs left that I think are good enough for Acorn, Ages, Poyo. They could just stay Demon's Domain and see if it's better, see if it does get a buff like I talked about, but at this point, it looks like Pete's gone and we have no idea where Poyo's going. Now, as far as EU, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea what Malabuka or Queasy's plans are. It's also worth mentioning that Demon's Domain will be in for day 1 of EU as normal. It's just not in for day 2. So maybe Malabuka and Queasy just try to do the best they can with day 1 and see what happens day 2. Like, I can't believe I'm talking about this. Like, how did we get here? Alright, I guess it's time to talk about groups. Who are the last teams to qualify from EU and NA? We had our last 10 teams make it through Group 3. Now, EU's Group 3, this was the absolute Avengers group, the most stacked group on any region, and it was as exciting as we thought it was going to be. So let's go through the first 5 wins. So we had Game 1 won by Clown, Gabix, and Waze. I feel like they got one of the most surprisingly free wins I've seen. Again, all credit to them. They took height early rotating zones and just held it the entire game. No one went up for height, and I was kind of confused, and I thought maybe that was going to be a trend for this entire group, but no. After this first game, height was the place to be. Every game had like 3 or 4 teams full sending on it. I think they just got lucky that the first game happened on a lot of elevation. A lot of the high ground teams like Queasy got in a rough game where they got stuck in the tunnel, and Clown's team walked away with the free win. They played extremely well. Game 2, Swizzy, Queasy, and Mustache went for high ground. They weren't going to let it go 2 games without seeing their way on high ground, and they got the 8 elim win. No surprise there. Game 3 went to CZB, Nathan, and Axforce, who actually came second in Game 2. So very impressive by them getting a second and a win in the first 3 games. Looking really good coming into Grands. Then we had Game 4 won by Artist, Ivanki, and Ifrozy. Now, I didn't have eyes on this team at all. Levin talked about them in the pre-show saying that he thought they're a team with no pressure on them. And I thought that was a bit crazy, but Levin knows something I don't. Fantastic call from him. They qualified through. And then Game 5 went to Cheatin, Trexer, and Mappy, who very much needed the win. Going into the last game, they were nowhere near qualifying off consistency. They clutched it up with an 8 elim win. But there's some very big names missing. I know what you're thinking. Don't worry, I'll run through the consistency list. Now, Akira, Karama, and Werix came first overall on 309 points. They absolutely popped off. A double controller trio and a French trio on EU. Now, at the moment, controller players in general not doing that great across the board, especially on EU, and the French teams struggling for the most part. Akira, Karama, and Werix are looking very solid. Remember, they also came second in one of the Div Cup finals this season, so they're looking very, very hot coming into Grands. Second place, a team you know you're expecting to see here, Vico, Veno, Flixie, but they had a very sketchy start. They got a 4 elim 17th and a 2 elim 18th, so going into their third game, they were on like 20th place or something. They were doing terrible. They brought it back with a 2nd, 4th, and 3rd to easily qualify. Super happy to see them make it through. Pink, Nebs, and Kiro not too far behind them, only having 1 game outside the top 10, and it was 11th, so very, very consistent, but not getting those big top 3 placements they needed to get more points. Then we had Splick, Karma, and Sato, super underrated team. They did extremely well as well. And then our last spot by 1 singular point, Chap, MrSavage, and Rezon qualifying through to the grand finals, clutching up a 7 elim 5th in their last game. It came down to MrSavage getting an elim before they went down. Super intense finish for them. They were playing really well at the start, came out of the gate really hot with an 8 elim 6th and a 6 elim 3rd. I thought they had it in the bag. Then they slowed down. A 1 elim 14th and a 0 elim 25th. 2 absolute stinker games. They went down in that second last game because of Storm Surge on the island, and they almost went down to Storm Surge in their last game. It was a super scrappy game where they were just fighting against Surge the entire time to clutch up the 5th. Super exciting finish for them. Really excited to see them in Grand. Savage was popping off with like over 30,000 viewers. It felt awesome to watch them bring it home, but we do have a few big names missing. The biggest one being Mongrel. Mongrel, unfortunately, was not able to qualify with Kaido and Hydro. They got 36 points total and came in 28th overall. They were contested at Pump Power. They tried to switch jobs and go to Utopia. The spawn fight took too long. It was just a really rough day for them across the board. Their 2 best games was a 14th and a 15th. They had a very rough tournament. We'll see how they go in LCQ. We were missing some big names as well. We had iDrop, Hari, and Cammy not qualifying. They're now in LCQ. We had Artskill, Podesai, and Ixweezy. The French team that was contesting at Demon's Domain left to go the fields. Once Queasy qualified, they went back to Demon's Domain and still couldn't have the performance they needed. They got an 8 elim 2nd in their second last game. So they got a 2nd place and still didn't qualify. We have some other big names across the board as well. Stormy Rise team, we had ADN's team, Moneymaker down there as well, Debull, Floki, Fito. Like, there's just so many big names coming into last chance qualifiers. EU is going to be honestly insane. There's only 3 spots up for grabs, and we have like 10 to 15 huge teams that need it. Moving on over to NA, this was the least stacked group on NA. There was actually 53 players playing in this group who had never made a grand finals, but the top heavy was very heavy. You obviously had Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. Now, I've already talked about how their tournament went. They had the highest consistency points. They didn't get a win in the end, but they got a 4th, 18th, 3rd, 28th, and 6th. That 18th and 28th were the games where Dukes, Edgy, and Chance were actually able to beat them out, but their 16 Elim 4th and their 11 Elim 3rd alone being enough points to get them qualified on consistency. But we'll talk about the wins first. We had Aoxy, Jojo, and Pikes come out early with a 6 Elim win off high ground in game 1. Noxy, Ozone, and Veer won game 2. Then we had Reet, Cooper, and Curly getting a 3rd in game 2, and then the 10 Elim win in game 3. Super excited to see them go through. No one was shocked there. Then we had Curve, Josh, and Tyler. They've had a very crazy season with all the drama going on at Outpost. They were able to bring it home. They got a 2nd place in game 1, an 8th, a 7th, and a 1st, so really consistent. And then game 5 was won by Sinetto, Cam, and Osid, who didn't need this win at all. They were very easily qualified, over 300 points without including the win in that last game, but they closed it out with a 12 Elim win. They actually managed to have 4 games that were almost double-digit games. 9 Elim 3rd, 10 Elim 2nd, 10 Elim 14th, crazy W key game, and a 12 Elim win. They easily qualified. Then for our consistency teams, outside of Peterbot, we had Cyclops, H-Cube, and Vlex, who I didn't have eyes on whatsoever. Fredbot, Aaron, and Caliper. This is Caliper's first ever grand finals. Enough, Salt, and Smiley, and then Aimred, Gary, and Angel. It is fair to say my predictions for this group were absolute stinkers. I had Neko's team to qualify, they didn't qualify. I had Dukes to qualify, they didn't qualify, but that's a tough one. I already explained that to you guys. Then I had Cynic's team to qualify, they didn't qualify. I had Death Sales and Encrypted to qualify. Not only did they not qualify, Death has now retired from competitive Fortnite. Like, my predictions were horrific for this group, but I feel like most people were shocked at how this group played out. There was just a few teams that I did have eyes on a little bit who just performed really well, and full credit to them. I'm super happy to see they qualified. The team that was meant to contest Peterbot, Arsenic's team, I'm happy to see that they didn't actually end up contesting Pete, because I really do think that was just them trying to look for a bit of attention. They were talking about streaming and come watch me con Pete. They didn't end up contesting him, but they came 11th overall, just missing out on qualifying, which I'm super happy to see. They had a way better performance. I love to see teams make the right decision. Don't throw their tournament away for a little bit of attention to then go on and almost make it. Super unfortunate to see they didn't, but I'd love to see them now make it through LCQ. I hope they keep developing as good players. Anytime I see a team with enough talent to potentially make grands, throw it away for just an attention for one day, it makes me happy when they do the right thing. So we'll see how they go in the last chance qualifiers as well, but there's now even more big teams on NA. I would say the 2 favorites for LCQ are definitely going to be Muzz's team and Edgy's team. I know anyone who's not a Pete fan is definitely cheering on Edgy to make it through LCQ. If you're a fan of any other team on NA, you want to see Kanata, Poyo, Clicks do well, you're probably cheering on Edgy as well, because if Pete gets uncon brutal boxcars, I'm probably going to give him the favorite to win grand finals, which is just insane when you stop and think about it. Peterbot spent this whole season contesting Poyo, everything that's created, and now somehow at the end of all of it, he's going to walk out with uncontested top 3 drop spot on the map and now be a favorite to qualify grand finals. Like, we talk about plot armor, and people are going to say, oh, Epic did it for Pete. Obviously, they don't do that, but I think it's a combination of Pete having the ability to back up, you know, the respect that he has from the players, but Pete also making these things happen. A lot of teams would just hope that Edgy didn't qual, or maybe try and fight them, but maybe it wouldn't go as well, and Edgy still quals. The fact that Pete, you know, had the balls to come out and say, I'm going to stop this team from qualifying, I'm going to take their drop spot, I'm going to make it happen, and did, is just kind of insane. I have no idea how we've gone from Pete throwing his grands, conning Poyo all season, to now getting brutal boxcars. Like, if Edgy doesn't make it through LCQ, it's gonna be ridiculous.